Right? Hello, everybody. My name is Pastor Benson. I don't want to say dragged to do this by my very good friend Andy. So it's just a little thought around why I wish someone had told me 5, 6 years ago when my family and I moved down from London to Bristol to do a church plant here. Well, advice from me, and again, this is just moi. Um, I wish I wished that someone had told me that planting a church is not a sprint, but that it's an actual marathon. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm just going to make about 3 points and I'll be done. I remember when I started, I thought, yeah, we're over here from London, Bristol. Met a couple of really great guys. Read all the church planting books I could get my hands on, and I thought, week 1, do this, week 2, 3, 4, 6 months, all done. Church's gone on, and all that. I now quickly realize that it just doesn't work that way. And the reason I'm saying this is quite a few people that I've seen will, God gives them a vision to start a church or to plant a church, and God has actually really given them that vision. But because of the expectations that we have, fairly so from the books we read, from the movies we've watched, from the conferences we've been to, it just makes it unreasonable regards what God actually has called you to do as an individual. And I've seen a lot of people give up because it hasn't worked out in 6 months. And what I want to say is that for some people it's 6 months, you actually begin to get traction. For some people it's 1 year. For some people it's 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. So what I'm just saying is that I wish someone had told me that it's an individual thing. So God isn't asking you to walk the same path another person is. Yeah, we can learn from other people, but you just need to know that it's not a sprint. It's just going to be determined by what God has for you as an individual, and you just have to go with that. So point number 1 done. I think my friend wants me to do about 20 points. I'm just going to do 3 here this afternoon. Second thing I want to mention as well is really enjoying the journey of church planting. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is oftentimes as church planters, I don't know if church planters is the right word, someone who's starting off a church, we're always, and I say that word we because it happens to me quite a lot, we're always like looking out the door with you're preaching a sermon or you're doing stuff and just your eyes are constantly out the door. Who's going to come today? I invited 30 people yesterday and only 2 turned up after begging and practically dragging them in here. And we get so caught up with how many people are coming, is the church growing, is the church doing this, so on and so forth. And we actually lose the fact that God wants us to enjoy the journey of church planting. Now, let me just give an analogy. So you have a couple who just got married, and say, for example, their wish has been to have like a child, a boy, a girl, and they've got their little girl's room all done up, and the newlywed wife is saying, "Oh, when my daughter comes, she's going to be, have this pink hairstyle, blah blah blah, and all that," which is great. Now that couple has an option. They can either enjoy their time together without any kids yet and look forward to the time that they'll have their kids and just enjoy the journey, or they can take the option where maybe it's like 1 or 2 years down the line, the kids haven't come yet, and they're like, "Oh, I hope we're fine. When are we going to have kids? I hope," and they just spend the whole time worrying about when they're going to have kids instead of enjoying where they are at the moment and just taking it step by step. So the reason I've given that analogy is because as church planters sometimes we forget that we need to take it easy and enjoy the journey. So if it's just 1 or 2 people that you've got at your church, fantastic. Have a great time with them. If it's 4 people or 5 people, 2, 10, whatever. At every point in time, we need to just take our minds off all the expectations and enjoy the journey that God is taking us through as church planters. So that's the second thing. And the third thing as well that I just wanted to mention is, whenever anyone tries their best to do what God has called them to do, we need to bear it in mind that this world that we're living in, if you're lucky, you'll do like 70 or 80 years. But there is a world after this world called heaven, where we will stand face to face with God. And the reason I'm saying this as the third point is that every sacrifice that you make, all the efforts, the inconveniences you put yourself through, going out to talk to people who you don't know, finding yourself in those really awkward situations. I was like, oh my goodness, I would rather be at home with my legs up with a nice cup of cocoa and loads of sugar in my tea. I mean, why do I have to do this and be out here in the rain and people don't want to talk to me, all because God has asked me? These things are not going to go unnoticed by God. So we need to have an eternal perspective that even though we go through this time of inconveniences sometimes, not saying church planting is all inconveniencing, there's times that it's really great, but there are times that it's quite challenging. We just need to bear in mind that that it's all worth it, because at the end of the day we're going to meet Jesus Christ at the end, and he's going to be like, yeah, my guy, well done. You put in all that effort. I really appreciate it. Anyway, that's me done today. And whatever God has called you to do, to plant a church, to support a church plant, it's really worth it. And enjoy the journey. It's to be enjoyed. It's not to be endured. God bless you. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Good.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic.
How long was that?